They called him the Diesel.
Crank up that diesel. Let's go.
He leaned across the table and he goes, "You need to get me back there. I'll make you famous."
And to Riggins, good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.
It's Riggo the Diesel.
Hello there, and welcome to Riggo the Diesel. I am John Riggins. This is Season 2, Episode 27, or Show 67, because we started last year. Larry Michael with me, voice of your Washington Redskins. Larry, well, I don't know where to start the show today, because I was just thinking about Coach Gibbs. I told somebody that yesterday. We were doing some video work for O'Connor Plumbing, and I told somebody yesterday that if he, stick around, I'd make him famous. But I don't know, but it was Fred the plumber, so I don't know how far Fred's career is going to go.
Fred's about to be famous.
I don't know if I might be able to, second act. You never know.
Did you see Coach after that race?
I didn't.
Wow.
I just saw a short film clip of Joe right immediately after the race.
Joe's a very spiritual guy.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know,
There's no doubt about that.
Having been in the pits with him, he's got all these different teams. And before the race, he goes from team to team, the pit crew.
You mean everybody's team?
He's got
members?
5. I think he's got 5, right? I think he's got 5 teams. Eric Jones, Martin Truex,
He's got 5 cars.
Bush, Hamlin. No, he don't have Logano. No, he used to. He don't have Logano. But nonetheless, he'll go from team to team. Denny Hamlin.
Yeah.
And he'll go from team to team and do a prayer, and he does it after the race too. And just the way that thing unfolded, they went from celebrating a Super Bowl championship to we better see what happened to Ryan Newman before we celebrate. It was incredible, the roller coaster of emotions after that race. Reminded me a little bit of Dale Sr. and Michael Waltrip winning, and everybody really was immediately concerned because he didn't get out of the car, and they really had to extricate him out of the car, just like they did Ryan Newman. Thank God he's okay. He's not okay. He's in serious condition.
But serious, I mean, that
Could still be serious.
About it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what they are, but isn't critical? Isn't that the very top? The IOC or whatever intensive care unit?
Yeah.
That's the very top one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Critical, I thought.
Critical condition.
And he's in serious.
Yeah.
But they didn't say, but they usually say serious but stable. They didn't say that, but they did say
they didn't say
stable,
stable, but not life-threatening, they said.
That's what exactly.
So I haven't
what
heard
they
anything today. The other thing that kind of scared me a little bit is they're very protective of putting out wrong information when someone is critically injured. They don't want to say that he had chest compressions or anything else, like the fan video that went out. They wanted, and I'm glad.
Does that mean like
did
they're giving him CPR? Is that what you're?
I didn't see that.
No, but that's what some fan was indicating.
Some fan was saying all kinds of misinformation right after the wreck. And then I guess it was like an hour, maybe 2 hours afterwards, the NASCAR guy came out and said he's in serious condition. Doctors say they're not life-threatening injuries, but that could mean a lot of things. So you hope he's okay. But
well, last night, I got to check, and it was like the information. This was probably around what, Todd? When we talked 7, 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
I would say somewhere in there, and there was hardly any information on his condition until this morning. Basically, I mean, I'm sure maybe something was released early this morning.
10 p.m. last night
is when they finally said
the statement was that he was serious with non-life threatening.
Yeah, well,
and I haven't heard anything today, and I'm sure he's not out of the woods. But I watched that whole thing. I watched the whole thing on Saturday, John. Sunday, I should say.
Well, so
the rain out.
But
watched.
when you picked, so how long did it last on Sunday?
It lasted about 3 hours, 4 hours.
There was 4 hours of race.
20-something miles.
Yeah, well, you had to watch the pre-race show. I watched I didn't have anything to do Sunday. I specifically wanted to watch the race because I love NASCAR, and so I got myself situated. I got my food. It was quiet. My wife wasn't there. There were no distractions.
Can you back that up for a second?
Yeah.
Larry Michael, you just said you love NASCAR?
Yes, you knew me when I had no care for NASCAR. I know you, my friend. No, long.
An awesome Bill from Dawsonville.
Yep.
Back in the day.
George McNeely.
Bill Elliott.
George McNeely.
Yeah.
Remember George McNeely?
So
Bob Sherman was the other guy we used to know.
Well, that's amazing.
Bill Bowser.
Bill Bowser.
Bill Bowser was the Daytona stringer for us back in the day when we worked together. So I watched it, and then, the president shows up, which was really interesting.
Unannounced?
I don't know if it was unannounced. It was announced.
It was announced.
Then he took the car, the presidential limo. They call it the Beast, and he ran. It's like a 5-ton car, right?
Yeah.
They said the sheet. It's not sheet metal. It's armor.
Yes.
6 inches of steel. all the way around the car, bulletproof glass, the whole bit. He takes a couple laps. Then it's time to race, and I'm watching the clock. And it was the race supposed to start around 2:30. It's 3:15. The race still hadn't started yet. 3:20, they start the race. At 3:21, the rain starts. And they get him out there, they put him back in, they put him out, then they cancel it. Then they say, Monday at 4. Monday at 4? That's a horrible time.
Yeah.
You're going to watch Monday at 4.
Yeah, that's true. And the sun's going down.
Over
Yeah.
100,000 fans.
Well, how much more race did they have to compete?
A lot.
They only got 22 miles of the 500.
They had like 180 laps.
At 4 o'clock, so they're racing that goes into the dark.
It went into dark, and they got lights there, and and obviously you saw the ending was at night, and it just, I don't know. I guess in some instances, John, they might move that race earlier if they know there's rain Sunday evening. They might say 1 o'clock start. We're moving it up, because out of the 102,000 people that were there, if you watched it on Monday, and I heard it on the radio, those motorhomes had left. They all left Monday morning.
Is that right?
Got to get got jobs, man. These people aren't all well. They got jobs. You got to pay for that motorhome. They left, and so there's probably half the crowd, Todd.
Yeah.
But if they had half, that's pretty
I
impressive.
mean,
So pretty good.
don't you think the same thing would happen if, for whatever, the Super Bowl or pick a major sporting event? Something,
It's true.
The Super Bowl had to get pushed to a Monday.
You make a good point, and they're talking about maybe making flexible scheduling for Monday Night Football. Did you see that story?
Did not.
That's something being discussed. How do you do that? You got a ticket for Sunday, and they move the game to Monday.
Oh, right. They've done that. They have in the past. You're right. They've talked about that for several years.
I don't think they've ever done it. They do
No.
it Sunday night, because then you leave, Sunday 1 o'clock, 8 o'clock. People's schedules aren't impacted as much. But you lose people who can't go to the game the next day, I would think.
Well, years ago, San Diego had to move their game to Arizona because of brush fires around
Yes.
the town. But I think that game was originally scheduled for a Monday night game, and they moved it to Monday night, nothing changed that way. But they did relocate.
That's a force majeure, right, Todd?
Yeah, that's I think exactly what it is.
Force majeure.
It's in every contract.
It's every contract.
God, force majeure.
Is a brush fire a force majeure? Yes.
Yes, it would be.
New Orleans
That's the
Saints.
definition
Yeah,
of
well,
a force
and
majeure.
actually,
Saints when they had the Hurricane Katrina.
I'll tell you, force majeure is restaurant called Prime when Todd walks in. That is a force majeure right
he
there.
is a force majeure. He can't. That's never in any of his contracts. They have to take it out because he is.
4 on its way to a 5.
Hey, by the way, I wanted to mention this because you jogged my memory. But years ago, which wasn't that long ago, doing the show Riggo on the Range, and we went down to Charlotte and caught up with Joe Gibbs and went through his Taj Mahal of where they build engines, the whole deal, which is pretty impressive, I have to tell you. And of course, he tells me that, well, this isn't anything. Go see Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s place or whatever where they run. And I'm thinking, this is the sticks. And so my point being, we go down to the Charlotte Motor Speedway or whatever it was, and I had the Riggobago, which was basically a converted sprinter van. And I get in there, and Coach Joe jumps and says, "Come on, we're going to take a lap." And
I saw this.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. Now, this wasn't Daytona, but I swear to God, that's why I'm sorry. This guy that was driving the Beast, he must have been, there's a little bit, if you've never done it before, it's intimidating as hell. Now, listen, I used to drive on mud roads, but all of a sudden, you've got a bank. That curve is banked so hard.
Yes.
That
Riggobago might topple over.
Exactly what you're thinking, because it's not exactly low to the ground, and I was kind of nervous about it. And I remember going into that first turn, and I remember Coach Gibbs going, "Come on, give it some gas, we got to go fast."
I didn't know Gibbs was in the car.
He was in the car with me, and he was like, he was like he had spurs on, giving me this, like I wasn't going fast enough. So I finally did, and I saw the method of his madness. You need some speed. Next thing you know, I'm going. I'm going around. The top speed was like 83 miles an hour on this thing, and I've got it all out going down the straightaway and into the curve and all that. Finally, he's like, "Okay, you can slow it down now." I was like, he'd had enough of me going that fast. But yeah, I was thinking, with a car that heavy, the motor in that thing, I wonder what kind of engine that thing's got.
Oh, it's got to be huge.
It's got to be a big diesel engine. What's got to be in there?
It's because it's got to go, doesn't it? If you got all that armor and you got to go, you got to go.
Well, yeah, but
right?
I'm thinking, like you said, if it's got that much armor on it and the weight of that car, I mean, I was just looking at a G500 Mercedes, which is that that kind of tankish looking car that they have.
Yeah.
That thing weighs, I think the curb weight on that's like 5,800 pounds. That's a car coming out of the factory. Now you're talking about a stretch Cadillac, I think, or is it a Lincoln?
It was a Cadillac.
And this thing's got armor on it. I mean, that car's probably got to be topping 10,000 pounds. Which, like I said, the engine.
Wow.
If it's a gas engine, it's probably got 12 cylinders. It's got to be. Got to be
Ridiculous.
something going on with
and
that.
on that bank, you got to be going a certain
I would think.
speed.
That's what I'm saying. With that much weight,
I don't think he went on the bank though. I think he stayed at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Even in the curve, I think he stayed
Then
at the
that makes
bottom.
more sense. That makes more sense because that driver was thinking, I've never done this before.
Wonder who drove that? I guess it was probably his regular driver.
Yeah. I would think.
Unbelievable.
Maybe it was Ricky Bobby got behind him.
He goes slingshot.
But
Slingshot.
I was going to follow this up by saying, myself personally, now I don't know anything about it, but if you go back to the two accidents, and you can't ever tell in anything because it's a lot like football. Sometimes the most benign collisions produce the most severe injuries. You don't think anybody, and the next thing you know, somebody's laying there and they can't get up. And for me, what I saw was this car. You see it so many times. A lot of times you'll see a car in an accident. Over the years, you look a lot where they get airborne and they do all this turning and all this stuff, and the driver gets and he jumps out and he walks away from the damn thing, and you're just like, how did he do that? At the same time, you see an accident like Dale Earnhardt Sr. when he literally, as he spun, he just basically T-boned the wall, didn't he?
Yeah, and there was no safer barrier on that wall at that time.
Well, and even if there had been, I mean, it would have helped probably.
He wasn't wearing all the other stuff either. He didn't wear a Hans device. He had an old school helmet. He was just old school.
Yeah, but my thinking is, and I don't know if they've developed that protocol to protect against a blunt force trauma injury, because I was told by a what do you call it, emergency room physician that in that kind of an injury, when you see it a lot of times in airline accidents, you go out and the bodies are in there, and you go and take and the person looks like they're asleep. You'd think in a wreck like that, people, there's carnage all over the place. It's not. But if you were to, if you do an autopsy and they open them up, it's just like Jell-O inside. That the organs are going so fast that when everything stops, they crash into the rib cage. It's basically the same principle as a concussion.
Right.
How the brain slaps up against the side of the skull and all of a sudden causes bleeding. Well, everything kind of liquefies internally. And basically that kind of an accident, I would dare say, like somebody like Earnhardt was probably dead almost instantly.
As they broke his neck instantly.
Yeah.
And actually,
so he had a broken neck as well.
Ryan Newman's, and that's why I think it was Ken Schrader, when he looked into Dale Sr.'s car on that grass after that crash, he knew by looking at him that he might have been dead. That's what they've said Schrader said, because he immediately started motioning for people to come over. And Ryan Newman T-boned the wall the same way. But they have that safer barrier, which is like an accordion, which softens that blow.
Yeah, exactly.
But then they got air up underneath the car, and the other guy, whatever his name was, forget his name.
By the way,
LaJoy ran into him right in the driver's side.
Did they take him to the hospital via an ambulance or a helicopter?
Said the ambulance took him less than a mile to get to the hospital. They built a hospital right next to the place.
Well, that would
just
make
in
sense.
case. So hopefully he's okay.
Absolutely.
All right, we got a lot of Redskins news we
Yes,
want
we
to talk
do.
about. But first, did you know the Redskins are sponsored by Koch Industries? That's K-O-C-H, Koch. Their 67,000 U.S. employees make a lot of things that make game day better. Greener turf, they make that. Stronger paper products for tailgating, they make that too. And electronic components in TVs and smart devices so you can watch the Redskins anywhere. Yeah, Koch makes that too. See all they make for on and off the field at KOCHmakesthat.com.
Hey, listen, if you think you got anything going wrong with your plumbing whatsoever, do yourself a favor. I've been telling you for quite some time now. Call O'Connor Plumbing, 833-RIGGO-44. They'll come out. They'll give you an estimate. If you don't like it, don't take the estimate. Call somebody else, whatever. But I think you'll be pleased with the work they do. They do it right the first time, and they're very reasonable. So 833-RIGGO-44, O'Connor Plumbing.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand back and watch the Phoenix rise from the ashes.
Stand back. It's Riggo the Diesel.
Just never gets tired of hearing that, do you?
I love it. That's maybe the all-time best. There's a lot on the top of my leaderboard, but
that
that's
wouldn't
up
be
there.
all-time best.
That's one of the good ones. That's one of the ones.
All right, so a lot of comings and goings, more goings than comings out here right now, and maybe some more to come. Josh Norman released this week or last week. I
Friday.
don't know. Was it last Friday?
Friday, yep.
and Paul Richardson.
A couple other guys too. A couple safety Ladler and a linebacker Odom. And the coach said that they would really begin in earnest last week to really drill down on the roster. And so after a week, that is what came up. And there's a lot of speculation that, we're sitting here.
So I'm taking this as the low-hanging fruit that they got on the first pass.
Yeah, I think maybe that was a situation where, that was a decision to move on.
Yeah.
And if you're going to
all things considered.
Yeah, if you're going to move on, that's probably easier than re-signing or extending or doing something like that with the players. So a lot of rumors on what could still happen, and Todd has put together an outstanding rundown, and he's got a bunch of names on here. So I don't know where you want to begin here with this. I will say this.
Wait, let's start with
Sheriff.
Sheriff, I'm sorry. Thought I mispronounced it. Yeah,
Sheriff.
Because I think that he will be an unrestricted free agent here in about another, 4 weeks, something like that?
18th of March.
Yeah, so, I mean, where do you think the team is with him? Does this really get down to, if he wants to be reasonable, or do you have any information on that whatsoever?
I have no information on that whatsoever.
Okay, let's go to the next.
But common sense, Brandon Sheriff's a great player. He's a former first-round pick. If you don't have him, who are you going to put in there? You got Wes Martin. Of course, Flowers is also a free agent who, I think he played great last year.
He did, actually.
I know you've talked about him quite a bit.
I mean, he found a position that he, was what he should have been playing all along.
You got both those guys. You do have some money, cap space, and so you need an offensive line to win. And Brandon, though, is a upper echelon player, reaching the end of his current contract. So there's a lot of options. You could re-sign him. As a matter of fact, Arizona Cardinals announced today they had signed DJ Humphries, who was their starting left tackle, a former first-round pick, same year as Brandon Sheriff, and they got that deal done before he hit free agency. And I think, and I said on Redskins Nation, by the way, you can see Redskins Nation, Todd, at 5:30 and 11 o'clock on NBC Sports Washington, if you want to tune in or set the DVR on that. But the Arizona Cardinals had a guy there who's their starting left tackle. He's a former first-round pick. He's going to leave for free agency. If we get to March 18th, the price is going to go up. So maybe we sweeten our price a little bit and see if he'll stick with us. And he did. So that's the scenario that could take place. Or you could tag a player who's becoming a free agent.
But you can only tag one, correct?
I don't know. I think you can tag more than one.
Really?
It used to be you could tag one.
But now they've expanded it, huh?
Of course, Kirk Cousins, the most famous player ever tagged. I think top TC over here is going to do some due diligence now to find out the answer.
Yeah, I always thought it was, but you might be right. But of course, there's also, what do you call it, the tag that you're talking about. But then is there another one called a transition?
There's a transition tag and there's the franchise tag. So,
and that may be the difference of the two that are available.
Yes,
for teams
I think the transition tag, somebody could make an offer, then you get some kind of compensation. I think it is.
Or they have the right to match the offer that you get.
Yeah, the franchise tag, though, you lock up your player for the average of the top 5 salaries at that position. Right. And, of course, for the quarterback a few years ago, that was a lot of money. So we'll see.
And that just keeps going
We'll
up.
see. Trent Williams is on our list. Of course, we know from reports that Trent has spoken to the coach. The coach has been very diligent. Who's your left tackle going to be?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, you might have to go to –
I mean, Donald Penn –
he's not. I don't think he's under contract, but he's be 37 this year. Right. He played well last year.
He did decent. Yeah, I would have to say that.
Redskins offense rated, around 30th, so everybody was part of that rating. And one of the best tackles, this guy DJ Humphries, is re-signed. He would have been a top free agent pick, I think, but he's now re-signed with the Cardinals. Adrian Peterson. How can your team be worse without Adrian? Your team is better with Adrian Peterson on it, in my opinion.
I think that's true at the right price.
Well, it's their option to pick up the price. The tab has already been determined.
It is. Oh, it has.
It's the Redskins' option. So I think that I just
I
can't.
agree with you.
He's got, but you have some question marks on your other running backs.
Oh, for sure.
So and you
have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But as far as having something that is a proven commodity, he's really the only one I can think of, isn't he?
Yeah.
And at this point in time,
and you know what you got.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a proven commodity. Yeah. Everybody's on the come on the other side.
Great leader, great guy. I mean, you've met him before. I mean, it's a guy. When he enters Canton, all guys like you got those jackets are going to say he's one of us. because he's just a pro football player.
I would say he's one of them.
He's one of them.
Nobody. I've got a little shed off to the side in
Yeah.
Canton, Larry. That's where I go.
And some of these other guys, Ryan Kerrigan's lifelong. Ryan Kerrigan is the hardest working guy
Yeah,
in
there's no
football.
doubt.
Ryan Kerrigan's got so much left. Ryan Kerrigan got so much to offer the football team, and he's such a great leader, such a great player. And I think Ryan Kerrigan is somebody that you just, again.
So you'd be shocked if he doesn't
yeah.
end up
I
on the team.
look, great player. You can't get better by letting other guys. You got some other guys who are released, and that kind of look at performance a little bit when you release guys, right? It's performance versus the value for what you're paying.
Yeah.
Really is what you're looking at there. So
3 tags.
3 tags. Here we go.
Exclusive franchise tag,
Yes.
non-exclusive franchise tag, and the transition tag.
Okay.
Players can negotiate with teams on the non-exclusive and transition tag, but not with the exclusive version.
Yeah, you're
And
done.
then the tags, your franchise tags and your transition tags with the salaries that will be released here shortly as to what those
Numbers will be.
numbers will be.
You ever had a skin tag?
I have.
Yeah. They bleed when you pull them off?
No, not if you got a good. No, you go to the doctor for
Go to
that.
the doctor. You don't just use a pair of pliers.
That's a permanent tag.
Okay.
And you don't want.
What are you guys talking about? You got over my
things you
head.
got on your-
I'm
you got
thinking
a
of
little-
ear tags. You put them in cattle, but that's about right.
little thing,
cattle, sheep, livestock, but that's
If the
about
team
it.
that transition tagged a player doesn't match an offer from another team, the original team loses that player.
That
For
transition,
no
it gives
compensation?
you the right to match the other team's offer.
Right.
Basically, what.
So
it
you
is.
can let them walk if the price is too high.
Yeah, exactly. But in other words, you don't lose complete control, but you do have I would guess the negotiating process. They find a better deal, then you got to either match it or let them
It's
go.
interesting how these things happen and don't happen. I can tell you back, I don't know, was it November, October, when Matt Ioannidis signed an extension? It was during the season.
Right, that's right.
And they got that done, and he played great, and now he's going to be here for a few more years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got your first-round picks. Maybe if you can sign somebody ahead of time, maybe it saves you a little money. But nowadays, the careers are short, so guys are going to try to make as much as they can.
And you can
right?
franchise a guy, it buys you more time. He's guaranteed his money, and you can still negotiate with him.
How about you, Mr. Agent Man over there? Wouldn't you maybe want to wait until the new CBA is signed because you have 1 year left in the CBA? Would you wait, if you had the option, to see if the money goes up because the new CBA might come with some new rights money from TV?
Or gambling.
That
would be the big purse, I think.
This
that's
is
gonna-
my friend.
Dak Prescott and others, that's
And that's probably what because he's turned down over $30 million right
Yeah,
now,
that's exactly
right? And that's what's reported,
Yeah, he wants 40, I guess.
which is getting out there.
Jameis Winston.
And then they
got his
talk
eyes
about
fixed.
Tom Brady. He may have everybody come to him. Basically,
saw
go to
that.
one location. Anybody's interested, they show up, they do something, and
Yeah.
see where it goes.
He's busy. He's busy.
Work out for him. Like the combines that Larry's going to be attending next week.
Yeah. Do you think they give him
Tommy, we're going to
an
need
exam,
to see you throw a little bit.
physical exam?
I'd be curious to see. I would like to see him actually leave New England and go to a team, that. Well, I guess a team that's going to try and use his talents is going to be kind of like what Denver did with Peyton Manning, and would be on the cusp of getting someplace deep into the playoffs, if not the Super Bowl, and winning it.
Team
Which
is
is
right
exactly
there.
what Peyton Manning did. Which I'm not sure. Is that unprecedented? Is he the first and only quarterback to have played, to have been the quarterback on two, albeit the second one, he was just kind of a guy that handed the ball off more than anything because he
Kurt
actually-
Warner played for two and played in
But
two
he didn't
Super
win them
Bowl. He
both.
didn't win them both.
But they're the only two that have actually quarterbacked two different. Because that's an interesting. Let me tell you, because having been a player who changed teams, it's interesting because a lot of times you come in and things are different enough, and personalities and locker rooms and all that. It takes a little while to adjust. Sometimes you don't adjust.
It does.
At that position, I mean, I can't speak to that position, but I was always amazed. And I guess we shouldn't be, because Manning, I think, was one of those guys that had such a command of the actual game itself, and almost he was a coach on the field
He
who could
was.
throw a football basically, so he could dissect the defense as well as Tom Moore, who used to be his OC.
That's right.
In what do you call it, in Indianapolis, that he went and at the same time he wasn't playing particularly well. And he had neck problems, but the defense was so good they won a Super Bowl. So you kind of like, okay, you got to give it to him. But I'd be curious to see what Brady would do on another team, late in his career, but I guess according to him, he has discovered the fountain of youth.
There have been some examples of that not going well in the past.
Yes, I know. That's what my
your
point
former
is.
teammate, Joe Namath.
Yeah.
John Unitas, another one. Joe Montana.
Mixed reviews.
That was a playoff
He
team.
made it to a championship game, I believe, against Buffalo with the Chiefs, and they lost up in Buffalo. I think it was one of the years when Buffalo was winning consecutive championships, AFC, but not Super Bowls.
So it doesn't always work out in the second career if you're that age. I mean,
Yeah,
look at
exactly.
Phillip Rivers, 16 years with one team, and he's got banged up knees. He's got like 9 kids. He's got 9 kids. I
Who
think.
does?
Phillip Rivers. I think they said he had 9 kids.
Is that right?
Yeah, pretty sure he's got 9 kids, right, Todd? I think
Yeah, he's got a lot.
got a lot of kids.
Good for him.
Yeah. So I mean, he moved his family to
So
Florida.
he needs the money.
All right. Hey, you want to hear something really interesting?
Yes, I do.
All right. Whether it's in the classroom or on the field, the Redskins believe learning should be fun. That's why we partner with youth entrepreneurs to bring their engaging, hands-on style of learning to classrooms in the D.C. metro area. Youth Entrepreneurs curriculum was created by educators for educators. That means it's flexible, fun, and absolutely free. To learn more about youth entrepreneurs and how to experience it for yourself, visit getye.org. And looking for another chance to win? We all are. $100,000 scratcher replay from the Virginia Lottery is just that now through March 31st. Any non-winning Virginia Lottery scratcher offers a shot to win $500 in the daily drawing or even $10,000. Now here's the lowdown. Any non-winning Virginia Lottery scratcher can be entered into a daily drawing. Each daily drawing, 2 players will win $500. Every entry in the daily drawing is automatically entered into the grand prize drawing, which is set for April the 7th. You got that? April 7th. One lucky player will win the $10,000 grand prize. All entries must be entered either via virginialottery.com/replay or the Virginia Lottery app. Fun doesn't stop if you don't win on your scratcher. So the whole story is here. If you have a lottery ticket, a scratcher, and you don't win, you could still have a chance to win.
Exactly.
So
you
don't
lose,
throw
but
them
you
away.
still can win.
Visit VALottery.com/replay for more information. The odds of winning the prize of $100,000 depends on the number of entries received. So I guess you're hoping for few, if any, entries. That raises your chance. Also, stay up to the minute with all the Redskins news, especially now during the offseason. Download the official Washington Redskins mobile app. Geographic and device restrictions apply. Data charges may apply.
Hey, I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
Who's bored? Who's broke? And who's back?
I wanted to always see the redwoods. I wanted to see the Rocky Mountains. I wanted to see the Painted Desert, the Petrified Forest, the Grand Canyon. That was like the land that I always wanted to go to.
John Riggins.
Okay, a couple things here, Larry. One, I got to ask, because we're kind of talking about personnel and all that stuff at this point in time, you never know what's going to happen with the draft. Obviously, you're going to be there next week. You're going to see all the talent out on the field, on the hoof, so to speak. Joe Burrow, the LSU quarterback that I guess people are saying it's weird because the kid last year that went to Oklahoma or went to Arizona from Oklahoma, I can't think of his name. Kyler Murray, he was a generational talent, correct? I believe that.
Well, they come every year. They have generational talent.
My point is, Joe Burrow's the next generational talent. But what if he doesn't? I mean, it's not unprecedented. I think the first guy to ever pull this off was John Elway when he refused to go to Baltimore.
Did Eli not want to go to?
And he's the second one.
After Elway,
Yeah, I think that but I'm trying to think, are those the only two? Although I just read something about Bartkowski, who was the overall number 1 round pick to the Atlanta Falcons. I thought that he talked about how there was a team he didn't, but so he ended up with the Falcons, which, back then he's basically claimed the organization was awful. And I don't know what, I don't know that enough about Cincinnati other than the rumors you hear that there may be other places if you're a fledgling quarterback that you might want to go to, as opposed to, because, all of a sudden your fate has been cast there. But I'm wondering what will happen. I mean, and when does something like that happen? When a guy comes out, well, I don't care at Cincinnati, I'll just set it out because I'm not playing in Cincinnati. And I'm trying to think, and maybe that's something we have to do the homework on for next week. If he does elect to sit out the season, is he re-enter the draft the next year, or is he property of that? We'd have to look into, right? You don't happen to know the answer.
I don't know off the top of my head. I think that what if so he's saying he gets drafted by a team and he refuses to play?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think his rights belong to that team, right?
For perpetuity. Or do you go through that year and then he goes back into the draft
in
pool?
perpetuity, I believe so, but we'll have to look that up.
Okay,
Not
then
sure.
let's assume that he is the first overall pick. Obviously,
Yes.
Washington's got the number 2. Chase Young? Is he like? There's no way to figure that, is there?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that as a member of the Redskins organization. But I will say this: you're sitting there at number 2, and obviously you're there because you won 3 games, so you have needs. This coaching staff has come in and really done a methodical job of going through the roster. If they get to the point when whatever it is, it's April 24th, and you're on the clock, and the phone doesn't ring, you take the best player available at number 2. And I don't think you need a quarterback. So the question becomes, is there a team out there that needs a quarterback that likes Tua maybe, and then, Detroit, well, good old Bernie Smilovitz put it out there that that they were going to, and he's from here.
Stafford's from around here.
Bernie Smilovitz.
Oh yeah, but Bernie's from here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he went to my high school, Northwood High School, Silver Spring, Maryland, and but you might not know until that night. And remember back 2010, the Redskins moved up to get RG3. They gave up a couple of firsts. They switched in the first round, and they got a lot. Whoever they traded with. I don't remember who they traded with.
St. Louis. Talking about to get RG3?
Oh, yeah, St. Louis.
It was St. Louis. It was Jeff Fisher was the coach at the time.
Yeah, he had the 7. He had the 7
He tried them all out one day. Yeah. But you know what? That was quite a haul. For the Rams.
Yeah. And years ago, Minnesota did it with Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
Same thing. That's where the Cowboys actually got their start.
So the question is, when is the leverage, sir? You're a man of leverage. I think you're a man of leverage, whatever that means. When is that strongest? Is it the day of the draft when the stuff hits the fan?
I don't think there's any particular time, do you think?
I don't know.
I mean, leading up to it, yeah, I'm like you. I mean, there's so many. You mean number 2 is the good side and the bad side. The bad side is you had to do something not so cool to get there, right? But you're there, so you got to look at the upside that you've got a lot of options here. And somebody was asking me, I think might have been Coco, my youngest daughter, and go figure. And I'm telling her, well, I don't know for sure because there's. One would think, and let's go through this scenario. Chase Young, which I think most people feel like would probably be the most logical number 2 pick, but no guarantee. But let's put him on the roster here for the Burgundy and Gold. Well, all of a sudden you've got Sweat, who you drafted last year, and then you're still thinking, Ryan's coming back. So now you got 3 guys that are basically it's kind of like a football, and receivers or running backs. Are there enough snaps to keep everybody happy?
Well, I think there are. I think if you look at a 4-3, you can't go with just 2 defensive ends. You need 3 or 4. You're looking at tackles. Well, you need
so it's
2
feasible
or 4.
that you could put him on your roster and you pick him and you'd go right at, or like you're talking about, trades with other teams. Maybe end up someplace. I don't know if anybody's got 2 draft picks in the first round, but it's possible you trade back and you get a couple. I mean, it's not a bad place to be. You can do some wheeling and dealing.
And then you got to look to the other side of the building where you got Jack Del Rio as your new defensive coordinator. You got some. I just had a chance to do an interview with Sam Mills III. What a super guy! What a just very well spoken guy. A guy who's got incredible intelligence. And I didn't really know it until I started talking to him. He was Ron Rivera's kind of like his bench coach, his game management coach, and he would be there to help with calling timeouts, accepting or not accepting penalties. I said, are you doing math constantly in the last 2 minutes? I'm doing math constantly in my head the whole game. Play after play.
Who are you talking about?
Sam Mills III.
Okay.
He's the defensive line coach, the son of Sam Mills Jr., the great linebacker who just beat all the odds and just was a tremendous player. He was a Hall of Fame finalist this year. So
he played for the Panthers, didn't he? Sam Mills Senior?
He did. Junior. This is the third. So
He's junior.
And he played for New Orleans and for the Panthers.
Right.
And they've got a statue of Sam's dad at Carolina because his dad passed. And this is just an impressive guy. I mean, this is a guy, you listen to him speak. I could see why Ron Rivera would have him helping him in Carolina and how he's going to help him. He is super smart. Who used to say super smart, Todd?
Coach Joe.
Coach Joe.
Good community guy.
This guy is super, super smart. I'll give you 2 super smarts. Super duper smart, Sam Mills III. Keep an eye on him.
Will do.
Impressive guy.
Larry, how important is you're going to be at the Combine Indianapolis next year? I know they're talking about moving it around like they do with the draft.
Yes.
How valuable, and I know that's when the game of poker starts with everybody wheeling and dealing, players' performances. How much value do you place on the Combine and the workouts?
It's just one of the tools they use. I do know this, and you talk to the coaches. It's the tape, the game tape. Nothing beats the game tape.
Versus the
underwear. This is
the
more of a
Olympics.
This is more of a kind of a, I would say, of a circus, really, than anything. It's really for the fans. My guess is
it is.
People know in the back. I mean, there's going to be occasional guy show up there and go, "Gosh, where'd he come from?"
Right.
And his stock goes way up. But for the most part, my guess is, well, everybody wants to see. You're branding people.
You could hurt yourself, really, if you have a bad combine. You could hurt yourself.
Right.
You know, I think the interview process that they go through, they've changed it. They're going from 60 to 45 players. Traditionally, the interviews with the players were done in the evening at the Crowne Plaza Hotel. Every 15 minutes, they blow a horn and they rotate the players. And
so you have you interview with every team?
You get a list, and the agents and everybody.
People that are interested in you, perhaps?
And so it's like speed dating. I like the way with Todd, it's all about speed dating. But they've changed it now. They've changed it. You will not interview 60. You will interview 45. And you will have 20 minutes with each. So I think those 20 minutes with each of these guys, there's been a lot of coaches and players who have told me, actually, Dwayne Haskins said it. He interviewed with Coach Rivera when he was coming out of college, and he remembers the interview in the Carolina suite vividly at the Crowne Plaza. He did the interview so Dwayne Haskins interviewed with 30 teams, maybe 32 teams last combine. And he specifically remembered the conversation he had with Ron Rivera. A lot of players have related those types of stories to me that you never know when you might end up with this coach in your second contract, you know?
Yeah.
Or you get traded, or a coach comes in.
You have to take all 20 minutes with the prospect?
No, you could get bored and just, yes, okay, goodbye.
Blow the horn a little earlier?
Do they have a casting couch in there?
What do you mean by that?
You know, maybe they can't fill the whole 20 minutes. You know, after 3 minutes. So.
Exactly. You're going, well, this ain't going to work out. But, okay, so you like cars? What kind of car do you like?
Well, they might ask any kind of questions, right? Maybe some stupid questions asked in there. Some stupid.
Well, that's the
questions
corporate
asked.
world, isn't it? Where they throw you these questions.
You were a tree. What kind of tree would you be?
Yeah, I'm going. So they go back and say, "Okay, Doc, this is what he said. What do you think?" He's nuts. Don't grab him.
He's some moron. His nuts don't grab. The man's nuts don't grab him.
That's it.
No, the man's nuts grab him. That was the old Greaseman deal.
That's what he used to say.
Yeah, right.
The man's nuts grab him.
Right.
Hey, John,
Was he talking about
He used
players?
to say that.
John worked with the grease.
Oh, that's what that was the little, the double entendre there that he would use, and that I didn't say anything bad, Todd. Why are you looking at me like that?
It reminds me of a dream I had, which I don't think I want to tell. I had it the night before I went into the show with the Greaseman. The Greaseman pretty much liked it. All I can tell you is my head was sticking out the back end of a bull's rear end. Don't ask me how it got there.
Oh my God!
It was not. What kind of a dream did I have? Larry?
That is a hideous.
I got to lay off the shiitake mushrooms. It just ain't working for me.
The cow was giving birth to you or something. They were giving birth.
But it was a bull. It wasn't a cow.
A bull was giving birth to an adult Riggo.
Yes. Well, it kind of probably got it from Land of the Lost, where Will Ferrell dives into the Tyrannosaurus mouth and then he's comes out the backside. Did you ever see the movie?
I never saw that. No.
Anybody that's seen Land of the Lost? You saw it, Todd? Oh, you got to see it. It's good. Good movie.
What condition he was at when I saw him after he went in.
He pole vaulted into the beast.
And at the
all right, I think we can wrap it.
This would be a good time to end this podcast.
I think so.
100K Scratcher Replay.
We're here with Bob, who's about to play a Virginia Lottery Scratcher. Here he goes, and he didn't win. Sorry, Bob. Wait, check the replay. I don't believe it! He turned his non-winning Scratcher into a winner!
100K Scratcher Replay.
Enter any non-winning Virginia Lottery scratcher for a chance to win $500 daily or the $10,000 grand prize. Visit VALottery.com/replay for details. Odds of winning depend on the number of entries received.
Winter is the season for adventure. And if you want a car as exciting as your lifestyle, then it has to be an all-wheel drive Honda SUV. With more features, the CR-V has standard Honda sensing, more room for friends. The Pilot has seating for 8, more comfort. The HR-V has available heated seats, and more rugged. The Passport is built for adventure with ample cargo space and hidden storage compartments. Winter adventure is calling, and Honda is ready to answer. See your local Honda dealer today.
Dear customer service, I can always count on Novak. My power is always on, my payments always go through, and Novak actually cares about the community they serve.
Dear Novak, your electric costs are reasonable. Some electricity is from alternative sources, and cost reductions are passed along during the year. Thanks.
Novak, power you can count on.
Hey Redskins Nation, it's the old pro Darryl Green. You know, when I retired from this Super Bowl winning franchise, I set my sights on transitioning to another winning team, Main Street Bank. I joined Main Street Bank the same year I retired from the Redskins, and we've been serving the D.C. metropolitan area ever since. Online and mobile banking with Main Street Bank is as easy as intercepting a pass from a Dallas Cowboy quarterback. And that was pretty easy.
Main Street Bank, member FDIC.